Good morning, YouTube. G-Man 5338 coming at ya. Got my morning meds going. It's a wake and bake, folks. That's right. So I got my morning meds going, and I'm ready to talk tattoos with you. But before we do that, before we head on down to old G-Man's Pleasure Emporium, aka my basement, there's some business I need to tend to with you. Number one, last night, I decided to put us on Instagram. So if you go to Instagram and you look for Tested Metal, Mettle, that is where you will find me and you, because you're a part of this. So check out Instagram. We have a whopping 1 follower right now, and that is my man Q-Rock. If you remember from last week's Tunage Thursday, check it out. He just got back from a tour in China. He hollered at me. I think we're going to be able to hopefully work something out to get him on the show. We'll get you checking out his art, listening to his music, and we'll get you asking some questions of him. We'll get you talking to him. Maybe he'll tell some stories. He's probably got some wild ones. So, ladies and gentlemen, Instagram, check us out. Follow us, support us. Number 2, we need to get some more subscribers in here. Please, I'm sure you know somebody out there who has nothing better to do than to watch my content. Okay? Find them. Anywhere. You see somebody using a cell phone on the street, you put them onto the old G-Man. It's the only way we're going to make this stuff happen, folks. Remember, at 50 subscribers, I'm going to tell the tale of when a dragon came to meet me in Afghanistan. This is quite the epic tale. We'll be going through a number of different countries. We will meet lots of famous people, lots of famous Canadians, especially musicians. We will hear from the likes of Metric, Billy Talent, Diana Krall, Nora Jones, and Blue Rodeo. Many lives will be changed by the end of this story. Some for the worse, some for the better. Dozens of lives will be lost. This is a serious story, ladies and gentlemen. No jokes. So, 50 subscribers, and I will start the trilogy. You won't want to miss it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, on to today's business, tattooing. Like I said, we're going to look at a design I did of Chief Seattle. Who is Chief Seattle? We are going to learn that shortly. But I will tell you, the Chief Seattle, he's like the indigenous version of like Abraham Lincoln or Winston Churchill. I mean, the man was brilliant. He was instrumental in seeing peace between warring tribes, and also peace between us white folk and the indigenous populations, all right? The actual city, Seattle in Washington, was named after this man. So we're going to talk about his quotes, we're going to talk about his life, we're going to talk about the difficulty in designing the tattoo. Why? Because there are no pictures of the man. All right? So, stay with me. Why don't you come on down to G-Man's Pleasure Emporium, and we are going to push some ink into your skin and into your soul, because, baby, you were born to rock and roll. Let's go. Peace. Hello. Welcome to the G-Man's Pleasure Emporium. That is right. Welcome to my basement once again for another episode. It is Tattoo Tuesday here with G-Man. We're going to look at a tattoo design I did of Chief Seattle. Before we get into that, I was thinking about something. Do you ever notice how people without tattoos complain about tattooed people, but tattooed people never complain about people without tattoos? I don't know. I was just thinking about that. Food for thought. All right, let's get into it. So, Chief Seattle was born in the late 1700s, right? Back in 1786. I'm just kind of looking at his bio here as we talk. It's easier for me to remember dates and times and whatnot. And he died in 1866, all right? Now, what's the big deal about Chief Seattle? Well, Chief Seattle was, like I said earlier, he was a very smart man, okay? He was a smart dude. I mean, this man had his shiz together. He was very much for the environment and respecting native lands. He was about cooperation between the whites and the indigenous populations. And he basically prevented two tribes from warring. His mom was from one of the tribes, his father from the other tribe. And he managed to prevent a significant amount of bloodshed between the two tribes because he was just in general a smart dude, like I said. All right? Trust the G-Man, folks. A little bit of faith, yo. A little bit of faith. All right? Now, there is a famous speech that is attributed to this man, to Seattle. All right? I want you all to check it out. I'll post a link for it in the description below. Basically, he's asking, how can you sell the earth? Something for you to think about. Now, I want to talk about some of the man's quotes before we get into the tattoo and the problems with designing the tattoo. Now, let's get on to some of the man's quotes. Like I said, he was like, Lincoln or Churchill, man. Like, this guy had a way with words, and he was well spoken. And with the first quote I'm going to read to you from Seattle is one of the inspirations for the tattoo design, which we are going to look at shortly. All right. He said, "Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things connect." Let that one sink in. The next one, again, another inspiration for this tattoo that Seattle said. "All things share the same breath. The beast, the tree, the man. The air shares its spirit with all the life it supports." Now, those are just a couple of quotes from Seattle. I think they're brilliant quotes. The man had many, many more. I'll link and post some of them in the description. Now, onto the tattoo design. Before we get into that, I think I'll talk a little bit about how I got into tattooing. Not so much how I started getting tattooed, but how I got into tattooing, although the two are kind of interwoven. So, I got my first tattoo when I was in my mid-teens, I think. Probably like 16, maybe. But I was hooked. I didn't do a whole lot of art at the time. I didn't even take art in high school. But I was hooked. I loved it. Getting the tattoo done. I loved the look of it afterwards. The skill. I appreciated the skill that it took to put it in. And I was lost and I was sold on pushing ink. And from there on in, anytime I got ink done, I always paid attention to what was going on. 100% like a hawk. I'd ask questions. Maybe I was annoying the artists, but most of them were my friends. So it didn't really matter. But I paid attention, and after a while, I accumulated enough ink and enough time in the chair that once I retired from work due to medical reasons, I decided that tattooing would be my thing now. I sort of chose the military path as opposed to tattooing when I was young, and So tattooing went by the wayside. But now I have the time and the opportunity. And so I got back into it when I retired. And I bought some machines, a ton of pig ears, pig belly, practice skins. And that is all I did. I spent loads of time hitting nose. I've tattooed myself. And that is how I learned. Eventually, I had an artist who was kind enough. They couldn't take me as an apprentice. What they did, take me under their wing and provided me tutelage, if you will, on how to tattoo properly. They fixed my bad habits, and they gave me some good pointers on my art. So that is the Reader's Digest of how I got into tattooing and my background in tattooing. All right, now we're going to look at the design of Chief Seattle. Now, you'll see it up there in the corner. Now, the thing is with Chief Seattle, and a lot of indigenous folks of the time, they did not like their photos being taken. They had reasons for this. They had spiritual beliefs about it, all right? And they did not want their photos taken. So they didn't get them taken. There is one photograph of Seattle. That is it. There's one photograph of Chief Seattle. Okay? And it is not the greatest. I will post it. Okay? You'll find the link for it. Check it out. You'll see the features are hard to discern. It's just an old, grainy photo. It's not the greatest. The only thing else that exists of the man is a statue, a bust of Chief Seattle. Which, by the way, like I said, the city was named after the man. Okay, so there is a bust of him. I will post a picture. That was my study for the portrait. Then I added the knot patterns to the bottom with the tree of life. Now that design is something I found somewhere online. It was a stock photo. My knot patterns are not the greatest. So what I do to learn, different styles of tattooing and different styles of art is I start by copying, okay? Tracing, copying, studying, okay? Learning the ins and outs of that. And I'm still in that phase with my knot patterns. But I incorporated it with my own portrait of Seattle. So I consider this my own design. I have changed it, that tree, effectively enough, and incorporated my own design into it, that I will claim this entire design for myself. Now, I would love to get this tattoo somewhere on my body, but I just haven't figured it out yet. When I do, you folks, ladies and gentlemen, will come along for the ride with me. Now, as I said, last night I threw us up on Instagram. Now you can start following the show through Instagram as well. On Instagram, I will post the picture of the tattoo design as well as a picture of the bust of Chief Seattle, so you can get a better look at it. I got some video up there, a ruckus. Big shout out to some of our followers. We got Q Rock, he was our first one up there. Crystal, I hope you're doing well after the surgery. She was our first subscriber onto the Instagram page. Shout out to the band Lit for liking the tattoo design that I did of Chief Seattle there. So thank you all for the support. And then I got another big shout out to my brother from another mother and my sister from a different mister back down in the 519. I love these two. You know who you are. I don't want to shout out your name because I don't know if you're cool with that. But just both of you, I appreciate your support. Thank you for being here. I hope I know circumstances aren't the greatest, but I love you and I hope you're doing well, okay? Now, remember, we're trying to get to that at least 50 subscribers, okay? So we can get the trilogy going, okay? So I can start the story, the tale, right? So get people in here subscribing, get them watching. You know what I mean? Hook them onto our stuff. Okay? Some good content, stuff that is going to help you. It is interesting. It will educate you and expand your minds. Ladies and gentlemen, Ruckus here is getting pretty tired. I want you to remember to tune in tomorrow for What Happened Wednesday. Tomorrow it is a true crime story, ladies and gentlemen. A true crime story. I bet some of you like those. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. You won't want to miss it. If you miss it, you had better be dead or in jail. That's the only reason you should miss my show. Okay? And if you're in prison, break out or find a cell phone so that you can watch the show. All right? Now listen, everybody out there, be good, folks. Be safe. Peace.